Okay. The button has been pushed. Hello and welcome. Can you believe this is what, our 4th episode? And the very first time this fucking guy shows up.
Live in studio.
In the dungeon. Welcome. Is it as great as it looks?
It is great as it looks, and it smells like the 70s in here.
I mean, how could it not? There's you may not see, but there's dog piss shag carpet underneath our feet.
It's hideous. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I literally power washed it. I had thrown it over a ladder, and I got videos I'll show you guys. I had thrown it over a ladder that I put on the 2 trash bins outside, and I literally was dumping chemicals using a power washer for 3 days, just trying to get rid of the dog piss smell. Then I covered it in probably a half a gallon of eucalyptus oil, just hoping, get rid of something. And now it's got like that musky.
It effervesces. It's got body.
It adds character. Okay. Just like the stench that comes with us.
Yes.
Right. It's just like, oh, I feel this. I understand what's going on. So what we want to do this week is, guess what? No guest.
Sorry, just us.
You are dealing with the 2 of us. Yep. And I feel like it's important because we got into this and it just kind of happened, right? And we have amazing guests. I have stuff scheduled out until the middle of October. So we have more guests coming. We will continue to do this, but Shay and I talked about it, and we want to have episodes where it's just you and I, right? And it gives us an opportunity to bullshit a little bit more and not necessarily just have to interview and make it focus on someone, and to add a little bit more of our flavor to it as well. And also give some people an understanding of like, who the fuck are we? Because they're like, oh, okay, this dude threw a chair, and now this bald dude next to him, and they're asking these awesome people these awesome questions, but like,
and they still talk to us.
Dude,
that's wild.
So it was my birthday on August 8th, and on Tuesday night, I decided, I was like, because we talked about it in the Cash or Trade episode, how I had bought tickets for a 3-day weekend. I ended up having to go to Florida for a work trip. And then I was so butthurt because I lost money on those tickets. I was like, I'm not going. Like, I'm done. Like, I had my opportunity. It passed. I'm not going. I kept telling my wife, she's like, are you sure you don't want to? Like, you love the Grateful Dead. Like, why? And I was like, no, we're not going to go. We'll just, I'll figure it out. Well, FOMO hit real hard on Tuesday night. And I told my wife, I was like, we're fucking doing this. So I had just bought her a Tesla. I looked up how long it would take me in charging. And it was 14-hour drive. And I was like, okay. So I bought the tickets to the show before I told her.
I did not know that. Okay.
So,
critical information.
Oh, 1,000%. I was like, babe, I already bought tickets. Like, we're going. She's like, what the fuck? What about a babysitter? Like, what are we going to do? I was like, all that'll get figured out. We got a 14-hour drive. We got to wake up in the morning and we're leaving. Yeah. And so, like, it was amazing. It was everything that I wanted it to be. And what's dope is, like, I started meeting more people in the poster line, believe it or not. And I got connected, and we actually are going to have, from the Golden Road on Grateful Dead Sirius XM radio, we're going to have David Gons on. So
awesome. I said, now, when you originally told me that, I said, who's that?
Well, that's because, listen, I want everyone in this podcast to judge the shit out of him right now, because we're going to talk about something. And that something is your lack of love for the Grateful Dead.
Listen, man, I feel personally attacked.
As you fucking should be, because every fucking hippie since the beginning of time.
I can feel the Wook blood pressure going up across the country as you say this.
I'm making more fans and you're losing them as this goes, right? And you should. You're wearing Birkenstocks. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, I don't want to hear it. You just don't have yours on.
Yeah, I live and die in shorts and Birks, and people that know me know that. But let's get back to the real problem here. So, like, obviously, I could not have it was my 39th birthday. I'm a huge Widespread fan. So what happened with Jimmy Herring and him getting throat cancer, I told my wife, I was like, what if somebody gets sick? Like, we don't know for sure if they're going to have more shows down the road. And I hope to God that they do after seeing it. But if they didn't, I would die. Knowing that, first off, I had tickets for 3 days.
At the Sphere, specifically.
At the Sphere, sold them at a loss, and then passed up on going on my birthday because these shows weren't originally part of the announcement. They announced these 2 extra weekends after the fact.
That was what threw me off because I didn't know that was part of the run. And interruption here, a little bit of backstory. Before you made this decision, I get a text from this guy, and he's like, "I need to talk to you." So I'm thinking, like, this is really serious. Something's wrong. You know, he's been in a car accident. Maybe his wife is sick or his kids are sick. And then I call him like, "Hey, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey, about these. Should I go to the Grateful? Go to Dead and Company at the Sphere?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course you should." And he goes, "That's why I called you. You told me what I want to hear."
You're a good friend because I had talked to my wife. I called my mom. She's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" No.
Had good reasons not to go.
Yeah, no, they all said, "Don't do it. What are you doing? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "No, I'm going to call Shay." Because Shay, and even though you're not a Deadhead, you're like, yeah, why wouldn't you? Yeah. And so it was totally worth it. But let's drive back to this. So, like, obviously, I love the Grateful Dead. What I want to understand is, so, like, you love bluegrass. We love a lot of the similar music and scene. What is it about the Dead that doesn't jive with you? Because, like, we talked about it. You're like, "Oh man, I've seen bluegrass bands cover them," and like you just saw Mountain Grass Unit here,
crushed it.
And one of the songs they played, Brown Eyed Women.
Yeah, it was incredible, and I knew the song from the opening bass line. I was like, and the whole audience lost. They're like, "Yeah, that's one of those." That's like, there's like a handful of songs a bluegrass band can play. Doesn't matter where you're at. They're like, "Yeah, so we know this."
And it's the Grateful Dead. Who would have fucking thought?
I don't know, man. It's one of those things where, like, you know, I'm always making the joke like I'm in it for the fast notes. And
are you going to make a Dead and Slow joke?
No, actually, I've never heard that before.
Okay, so people give shit because, like, we can go through the different years and iterations because like people can hear live Dead songs and be like, "Oh, that's 72 Jerry. That's a 69 Dark Star, or that's whatever this is." And so, like, I definitely understand that, and I love the iterations, but like they rip. And sometimes, yes, it is slower, but like I need to know as a devoted Grateful Dead fan, like, what is it?
All right. Well, so the first disclaimer I want to throw out here is I'm a hypocrite. Okay. So let's put that out there just for the record. I'm not trying to pretend I'm a good person or anything like that. And I will be the first person to tell you, like, especially like if you know this baseline example. You listen to Billy String's album, that's great. What you're going to get in person, whole different ballgame.
1000%.
I am 100% sure that holds true for all the Grateful Dead stuff. I have never seen any of the related material live other than covers through bluegrass bands that I like. So I've only heard like
the studio version of the Grateful Dead.
And you know me, it's like I would like the moment I look for an example is, you know, when we were at Billy at Fiddler's and Andy Hall came out and we were just screaming and jumping up and down like little girls. You know, it was so good. It was, they just go and go and go and go. Like that kind of energy.
Dobro, baby.
Oh, dude. Can't stop the Dobro. I love it. And it's just one of those things where, like, I've never.
You know, Jerry played the dobro too, right?
No, I've never heard him play. I'm sure it was really good. And I'm willing to change my
So what we need to do is pepper this motherfucker with examples of Dead shows and songs that you love, so that we can flip the switch. Now,
let's be clear. I'm not saying they're bad.
I understand.
Listen to them use their masters of the craft, but like I've just never had that. I guess the real core example is I've never had that moment where it just clicks. You know what I mean? It's never hit. Now maybe that's because I've never seen like Dead and Company live, and obviously I never saw the original lineup live. Obviously, you know, like my dad, huge, you know, from my understanding, huge Grateful Dead fan. It's like Grateful Dead, James Taylor, and Lou Reed in our house when I was growing up. Like, those are the big ones. So like, you know, like it just never hit for me. It just never really scratched that itch, which is stupid because there's so many songs that you'll hear bands play that are covers of Grateful Dead songs that I love when I hear it live. So I understand that. You know, see back the hypocrite comment earlier. Now, having said that, I got a lot of joy when Billy Strings was like, "I'm not playing Grateful Dead anymore."
Sucking from the teeth.
Too many people sucking from that teeth, and I agree with that. But also, there was like a week and a half where all my friends were texting, like, "Did you tell him to say that?" Because I more or less said the same thing. And but you know, anyway.
But so you were already talking about how you feel like it's slow and they don't rip. Billy fucking ripped some of those songs.
I don't
ripped some of those Dead covers.
I'll be the first to admit I've probably seen Billy play a bunch of Grateful Dead covers, and I don't know their material well enough
to know that they were just Grateful Dead covers.
And I'm really glad we don't have an audience here to like throw bottles at me.
Yeah, well, they'll see him in live, and we'll talk about it. So shame.
Table, I'm sure.
Shame. You know, but so then that brings it to me is like, okay, so if the Dead aren't on like your Mount Rushmore, right? And who are those bands then? If you had to give me like 5 bands that you like, and well-known bands, right? Like people that know, not like up and coming
outside the bluegrass.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if it is bluegrass, like who are the 5? If I put you on a deserted island and you had to listen to the discography from 5 bands or live shows from 5 bands, who would those bands be?
So, I mean, obviously, Billy Strings is on there. That's kind of non sequitur. I have been super into Arkansas the last couple of years. I fucking love Arkansas. Then as far as like more smaller local bands, anyone that knows me knows I am a shameless Magoo fan.
Yeah,
love those guys.
Introduce them to me.
Yeah, and they're so much fun.
And they shred.
They're so good. Shout out to Dylan. He won first place at the Dobro contest at Rocky Grass this
Rocky
year.
Grass, that's right. Well deserved.
Well deserved. Can't get enough of that Dobro.
Bro.
And so you've got those 3. And then honestly, the bands that really, really got me into music, the first bands that I heard that made me go like, oh, okay, because I was when I was younger, I never really had a favorite band. I wasn't super into music.
And you're from West Virginia. Born and raised in West Virginia.
Okay. I moved to Colorado when I was 26. I'll be 39 this weekend, so I've been here a little bit. But honestly, the bands that really got me into music, and this is the opposite of the spectrum, I fucking love Alice in Chains, and I fucking love the Deftones. Awesome. Those were the 2 bands that got me into being like, oh, okay, because when I was younger, all my friends were listening to like most of the circle I've run with most of my life, and this is funny, is real into like heavy metal, the grindcore, death metal, black metal, all those like weird subgenres of metal. Yeah. And I've always loved, and this is what's funny is because it's kind of come around full circle, because I know a lot of people that see a bluegrass show and go, holy crap, that's like acoustic speed metal.
Yeah.
And excuse me, but I always loved the guitar work. I loved, the fast pace and just the shredding.
Yeah.
Couldn't stand the vocals. And that's kind of what eventually drove me back, pulled me into bluegrass, especially seeing Billy Strings, was that it's all of that in one. And then but then it can get slow and it's got the more melodic voice. I don't like the growl, the death metal growl. That's it's that kind of thing. And that's kind of what picked me over in Alice in Chains and the Deftones. And then you're going to throw another one. And then early Tool has a very special place in my heart.
Nice.
Their last couple albums or whatever. But for me.
You're going to a Tool show to see the stuff that they're playing in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Especially if you want to see a band that you pay $200 for play the same set 2 nights in a row. Go to a Tool show. But
shots fired.
Sorry. It's true and you know it. So like those are the big ones right now. But then like there was a phase in my life when I would have given you 5 other bands, but like the bluegrass scene has specifically stuck with me for probably like the last 5 years or so.
Okay.
And it's that kind of thing where like, it's kind of like,
so was it Billy that got you into it?
Well,
and then how are you introduced to Billy? Cause I know that you were at like the Mishawaka shows. You were before like the blow up, you were seeing them.
So, and I know, especially Chuck, if you're listening to this, I know you've seen Billy since basically the day he could walk.
Don't worry. Chuck will tell you all about it. Maybe we'll have him on if we can deal with his bullshit for over an hour, but yeah.
But no, it's one of those things. So, and it's kind of like, I never had that moment with Grateful Dead, but I had a moment, I never heard of Billy Strings. I didn't know who the name was floating around, but I'd always been into bluegrass a little bit when I was younger. I remember seeing there's a festival that I don't think they do anymore in Scottstown, Ohio, called Appalachian Uprising.
Okay.
And that was the first music festival I ever went to when I was maybe 17 or so. And that was Yonder headline, that original Yonder line.
Jeff Austin Yonder.
2009 or
May he rest in peace.
Yes, absolutely. And then like Old School Freight Train and Genuine Junk Band and a bunch of these other bands. So like, that kind of got me into it, and I always casually listened to it. I was real into Old Crow Medicine Show when I was in college, like everybody else.
Wagon Wheel. God damn it.
I know. How much fun would it be if like you saw one of the bands we like play cover that song?
Oh, dude, it'd fucking rip, and we'd all love it. We would all love it.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I actually had a similar thing. So like I was the baby of my brothers, and like my oldest brother was huge into Kiss. My dad was like a Hank Williams III, hardcore, old school country.
My brother was the Dave Matthews, still is the Dave Matthews.
And my closest brother in age, he was Metallica, Pantera,
yes.
Megadeth, like heavy metal. The first show that I actually ever saw was the Beastie Boys.
Ooh.
And then I was literally, before I rocked the Green Bay Packers cap everywhere, it was a red Yankees cap for Fred Durst.
And I have such a special spot in my heart for Limp Bizkit, dude, and I would love to see them on tour now,
bro. And they've been killing it. And like literally, like my hype song when I played football, every time before I ran out onto the field, I listened to Limp Bizkit's "Break Stuff." And just such a fucking hype song, and like that teenage angst, right? And so like I came from that heavier influence. My mom was a Deadhead, and so like I grew up listening to the Dead at her art studio, and it really resonated with me. I grew up in Hawaii, so then I also had a lot of like reggae, and like I am a sucker for a string instrument, whether it's an ukulele, a guitar, it doesn't matter. If you can shred, you can shred. And so for me, like I grew up with that hard metal because of my brothers. And then I saw String Cheese incident play in
I wish I could have gotten to see them back in the day.
In 2000, dude. And it was insane. And then after that, I went to Harmony Park at a festival and I saw David Grisman play live. And he was literally, he's the dog, right? And I was on another planet and this man is just ripping his mandolin and he transformed into a poodle on stage as I watched. And like at that point, I was like, okay, who is this? And at that same festival with Grisman was Yonder Mountain. And Jeff Austin came out and he was talking about the bubbles that he was seeing in the crowd in the sky. And then he played a song called Holden. And it's a John Hartford tune. And he goes, hey, I'm going to play a John Hartford tune. I had no idea. This is like before the internet, before anything. And you ask what I'm holding. Oh, no, I ain't holding. And I was like, this is fucking beautiful. What is this? So I immediately went home, started diving into John Hartford. Steam Powered Airplane is literally one of the greatest bluegrass albums I have ever heard. And so for me, I like transcended, but like I listen to still, like I'll go to heavy shows. I'll go to reggae shows. I'll go to country shows. I absolutely love bluegrass and jam bands. And that is where my heart stays. The Grateful Dead will forever and always be my number one. So like when I heard you say that shit, I like wanted to strangle you. But
I saw it in his eyes.
But I also understood, right? Because like the Dead aren't for anyone, but also you like listen to these bands who were heavily influenced by the Dead. So like that was different. Bob Marley is another one, like iconic. You will never get like the poetic justice in his songs, not only just the sound of it, but what he's singing about and why he was singing about some things. I love that shit. Bob Dylan was another huge influence. And I know I'm going like old school, bigger bands, but like that was my foundation as like a teenager, right? And then I started living in Minnesota. I went from Hawaii to Minnesota as a teenager. And there was a jam band that was blowing up in the early 2000s called the Big Woo. And Chris Castino is one of the most talented guitarists I'd ever seen. And so I was literally leaving for shows with my best friend, Jack Dale. We would go up to his oldest sister's college, Gustavus Adolphus, and we would go catch Big Woo shows, underage drink, and like had the greatest time of our lives. And like, I remember they were on Jimmy Fallon's late night. And the first time they brought him out, and now the Big Woo. And Jimmy Fallon made some dumbass joke. I was expecting an 8-foot Giza, like Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
And you want to know how old I am? I was recording these on a VHS so that I could go back and watch.
I don't like this because we're the same age. Now I feel old as shit.
Yeah, but we are, bro. We are old as shit. Yeah. And so, like, with that, I transcended. I've always loved bluegrass. So since I moved to Colorado in 2012, I've only missed 2 Telluride Bluegrass festivals. And what happened was in 2018, I had been consuming some adult beverages. And I love the amateur contest because there's been so many great bands, because it's finding like for me, like as that teenager and hearing about John Hartford and then being able to go down that rabbit hole and like find out about music, it was amazing. So now with Telluride, every year I go and I check out these amateur contests and I find out about these new and up and coming bands. And Billy Strings didn't play in the amateur contest, but he was in the middle of the day in 2018. And I was a little loopy and I go, who the fuck does Billy Strings think he is with a name like Billy Strings? They came out and absolutely shredded. And I was like, who the fuck is Billy Strings?
Yeah.
And so from that day, I have been devoted, and he's quickly gained up into my top 5. He's one of my favorite bands of all time, and they're just getting started. So like with my mom being a Deadhead and being able to do that, I feel like now Billy Strings is my Dead, right? And so the not sucking the teeth thing, it was a double-edged sword for me, because I totally get him wanting, because he's like, I want to create my own scene.
Yeah.
I don't want to be part of this scene that was created by Jerry or Bobby or whatever it was, and now just be a subsector of that. And so he wanted to put that away. And it's hard because, like, as a Deadhead, some of those Billy covers are like, go back. The last time he played any Dead was the second set of the Ryman with Bob Weir. Like, amazing. And it's funny because people talk about like
Bob. I don't like Phish that much, but when I saw him, Bob Weir play with him.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now let's share in this, because we talked about bands we like. Phish. I'm gonna make a lot of haters here right now. I don't fucking love them. I don't even respect them. I understand that they're phenomenal musicians. I saw Trey play at the Dead 50 shows, and the dude fucks. Like, he can literally play the guitar when he's playing Dead songs. When he's playing Phish and bubble tunes and all this shit and about his mystical lens and Phish, kids are like, you just don't understand. He's singing, and I'm like, bro, no. Like, I come from Bob Dylan. Like, I love folk. Like, I want to know what the fuck you're singing about. And so, like, I've tried. I've gone and seen Phish. I try to do it. It's just not my thing. And the worst part about Phish is Phish Kids. It's not even the music, man. It is the scene.
I mean, you could say that about any band.
But that's what I was just going to say. I think there's so many people that hate on bands.
Yeah.
And it's not actually their music they hate. It's the people that surround their music and their scene.
Like, to bring it back to, like, the really over-the-top Tool fans, oh, man.
Oh,
those
awful.
guys are rough. Like, yeah, we know. Danny Carey has a PhD or master's in something mathematics or something, but, like, he's good at the drums, but, like, I don't need to hear that for the 50th time. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, and that's actually one of the biggest things I try to do is not to let, because, like, the human brain is wired to get you pay attention to things that upset you more than things that make you happy.
And you're looking for it, right?
Yes. Because, you know, when we were just running, excuse me, on the Serengeti or wherever, you know, foraging for berries and vibing in the sun, things that you don't like could kill you. So you pay more attention to them. So, like, it is really easy to fall into that trap of looking
now we find the right mushrooms that don't kill you.
Exactly. It's one of those things where, like, you fall into that trap of you're only noticing that one really annoying douchebag at the show.
Okay.
You're not paying attention to all the other cool people, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot of shitheads.
So we talked about the Mount Rushmore of the bands that we absolutely love. So who are some of the bands that you cannot stand?
Oh God.
I know I'm doing this. I know that I'm doing this.
That's fine. You know, let's get this out of the way before there's too many listeners. They're going to go back, you know. But,
they already cut us off.
Nobody
wants to hear this.
But
your band fucking sucks. Your favorite band is bullshit.
I don't like the things you like. Fucking bad. You feel bad.
You should learn how to like the music that I like, and then just echo chamber. That's what's better.
Man, I tell you, I really fucking hate Linkin Park.
Really?
Yes, it is the whiniest shit, and I understand that that's going to get me some, you know, and I'm not trying to downplay, like, you know.
Of course, now he offed himself.
I know, the singer had a lot of mental illness issues, and, like, you know, that was all sad and everything. But God,
you're beating up on a protected class, Shay.
Shut up, Kodi. That sucks. It's such a whine, and it's like any of those bands like that where it's like the constant vibe is like sad. Like, I don't want to go to a show to listen to you whine about how your dad doesn't like you or whatever. Probably like that can
be
part
to know
of
I'm alive, bro.
Like, get out of here. Like, I like Nine Inch Nails. I get it. Hurt's an entire album. Like, it's a thing
for sure.
But, like, it can't be your whole shtick. And, you know, it's like a lot of those bands from, like, the new metal bands, like, God, like those Stained albums from the early 2000s, super, super whiny. I can't stand that. You know, a lot of that stuff from that era really gets under my skin. Like,
are there any bluegrass bands that you can't stand?
There are bands that are popular that I am not as super into as other people, but I never really had a bluegrass band that I hate. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, that's not really a thing.
So that genre didn't push you the wrong way. But you don't like Phish, so are there other jam bands that you?
You know, and I understand that because this is one of the arguments I get into with my friends where people are like, well, you love jam bands, you like Billy Strings. I'm like, no, I will pedantically argue that while a lot of bluegrass bands get jammy and there is some overlap in those two Venn diagrams, they're not bluegrass bands because the majority of the songs you're going to hear in a bluegrass show are like 3 or 4 minutes until they do the one that's like 15.
Yeah.
And none of those, but it's any of the like really. Typically, the more toxic the fandom, the more irritating I find it.
And so that's what it is. I feel like it's so much people. It's not actually the bands or the music that they hate. It's the people that follow them. And that's why, like, so I tried.
It's ironic because a lot of people hate Billy Strings because the fan base, some of the fans can be super intense. But again, that's true for anything.
For sure. And that's where we kind of feel it. And what's funny is so like people give me a bunch of shit because as much as I despise Phish.
Oh, I don't like Aerosmith. That's another one. Sorry.
Dude looks like a lady. But for me, like as much as I despise Phish, I actually love Goose.
Yeah. I love that because like
and it makes no sense because it's some of the similar stuff, but I also feel like some of their storytelling is stuff that I can more attach to and feel and again they rip, but people are like, that's Phish light. Like, what are you doing? They're just trying.
Goose is. I couldn't name a single Goose song. Is Goose the one? Like a lot of I've heard people talk about his voice or like an auto tune thing.
So Rick definitely utilizes auto tune. So he is not singing by himself, right? It is, but I feel like
auto tune's a vibe now, man.
And then over the years, he has really started to perfect his sound within that auto tune. Yeah. Now with Rick, as much as I love Goose, I'm going to watch that dude fucking shred.
Yeah.
Because he can shred. But people are like talking about being a hypocrite. They're like, how the fuck can you like Goose and hate Phish? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. But then it's funny because then you look at like the fan base of like Goose and the fan base of Phish, and it's like these fucking loafers, like yachts, boating, like fucking preppy ass kids with money. And for me, for some reason, I can shit on Phish kids, but with Goose kids, I can like make an excuse for it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense. And I know so many people are gonna be like, what the fuck? But it's true, right? And like for me, it was really hard because it's like, okay, all my friends in high school and growing up, they're like, how can you not? Like, let's go. And like, I guess I always went to more of a Southern rock. And I guess there was an influence from my dad. So like the Allman Brothers, Lynyrd Skynyrd, stuff like that. So coming out of high school, Widespread was one of the things, like Southern rock, fucking dirty. But people shit on Widespread kids too.
Yeah,
right?
That's a big one. Yeah.
And then what was weird is like in the early 2000s, there was a clash between String Cheese kids and Widespread kids. And I was like, fuck it, I like both of them, right? Yeah. And people are like, how can you like what? How? And it's like,
I'm so sorry. I like to have fun, guys.
Well, and that's why for me, it's like, why can't we just go? What I always try to do is say, like, hey, even if you don't like the scene or the vibe, like, go give the band a shot and do it the way that their fans do, right? So, like, I went to Phish Sticks. I tried to do it, and I will tell you, the light show is fucking amazing.
That's what I'm saying. You know, I'm not going to say Phish. You know, like, dude, they've got probably one of the best light rigs there is.
Oh,
like,
dude,
it's incredible.
It was insane, like absolutely insane. But like, I still like he's singing, and there was a couple songs where I was like, oh, I like that. And my buddy, who's this huge Phish kid, he's like, that's Heroin Trey. I was like, well, he needs to pick the needle back up because that shit.
I mean, like, let's be
hard.
real,
like
dude.
Evil Trey, like that fucking like heavy ripping, like I was all about that. When he's like bubble tunes and fucking jumping on his little train, like I can't vibe with that.
I mean, real talk, the Stone Temple Pilots broke up, and then Scott Weiland got sober, and they got back together, and they suck now. Like, I get it. Like, I'm not saying you should do drugs.
Well, and this is awful because we've had a few guests on, and we've talked about the journey through sobriety and all this shit. Yeah, we're terrible people. We're like, yeah, no, you need to go back to being an addict because your music sounded better when you were doing drugs. But it's weird how shit like that actually does transcend the scene and the music, right? I guess for me, the biggest thing is because, like, they talk about torch passing. And so once Jerry died, they're like, oh, Phish and Trey took the torch. And as a deadhead, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. But like, why does it have to be a torch?
Yeah.
Like, why can't there just be great bands in different genres at the same time? And like, why is it that we always have to shit on other things that are like competing to the values of what we like. And I as a hypocrite saying this right now, right? Being like, oh, well, why are you shitting on
good at
Phish?
shitting on stuff other people like.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm an expert at it, and I understand it's not fair, but I mean, that's kind of part of the us is them saying, you're like, okay, these are my people, those are your people.
But so for me, like what we're doing is like, we're trying to do this as men of the people, right? And like figure it out. So I would like to ask our listeners or people who actually get through these episodes to say like, okay, who are the bands that you absolutely love and who do you hate, and tell us why, right? Because for me, like, to better understand, and if you have a compelling argument, you better believe I'm going to message you and be like, hey, do you want to talk about this on a podcast episode? Or find the ambassador for your band and be like, you guys need to talk to this guy or girl so that they can better educate you, because maybe we're just fucking idiots and we don't know. Well, I mean, we are fucking idiots. We are fucking idiots. But we don't know what we don't know, right? And so like, it's affirmation bias, right? And like, oh, okay, well, I don't like Phish, so I'm just going to hear what I don't like about Phish.
Yeah.
But then somebody can come by and I could listen to it, and maybe I didn't know that it was Phish, although they have such a distinct sound that I would probably know immediately. But then maybe I'm more
there
open
100% been times I've been at a buddy's house who's a big Phish fan and heard a song come on that I wasn't familiar with. Like, man, this is awesome. Who is it? This is Phish. I'm like, fuck!
See, and all I can think about is fucking Matt Clay, one of my homies since high school, who lives close to me here, and like, he is a quintessential Phish kid, and he is beyond fucking annoying about it. and he knows, and he's gotten to the point where he shoots me messages on Instagram. He's like, hey, did you check this out? Like when they had the fucking Whales or the Dolphins and MSG, he's like, did you see this? He's like, did you check out that they like went from one side of MSG to the other? And like, if it was another band, I probably would have been like, that's fucking amazing. But because it was Phish, I was like, oh, so they had to do some cute little gimmicks to get you fucking guys to be entertained.
How many people reached out to you when Billy said it?
Dude, so many.
Dude, I got so many messages.
So many.
And I'm a dick, so of course I was like, oh man, it's finally cool. They got a guitar, so it's fun to watch play. It's fuck you, Shay.
Well, and like I made some memes and threw them out on the internet. I'm like, it's like, oh, Mike Gordon's looking over, like, oh my god, the rumors were true. Or like my favorite one was Billy is looking at Trey and he goes, I'm Phish now.
Like, I'm Phish now.
And what I love about that the most is Billy literally reached out to him for tickets, not to play. He's like, hey, you're playing in Michigan. Can you hook me up with some tickets? And Trey's like, well, why don't we just do this?
Yeah, awesome.
And what's cool is like Billy is a Phish kid, and there's pictures, and I know you guys can all fuck, oh, well, Billy Strings like Phish, so why can't you? I just can't, okay? But maybe somebody can fucking talk me into it. But I really like, I think it's more of the scene, right? And so like figuring out like what these different aspects are, because I will tell you, like, after folding the poster and throwing the chairs, I had so many different people from different bands and different scenes reach out to me and talk about like the hypocrisy and the bullshit from within their scene.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that we want to talk about, right? Like, but I also don't want to pretend like I know. So that's where we're asking you guys to try to help us find this and find the interesting shit to talk about, right? Like, I know that your girlfriend just went to Pretty Lights, right? And so like talking about like another sober journey, right? And some of this shit that happened. Well, so with Pretty Lights, a lot of people before Pretty Lights were Bass Nectar fans. And what I
really,
yeah, well, and so what I saw was amazing. I don't know who the DJ was, but they played a clip from South Park about not touching kids, and then they played into a Bass Nectar song. And it was amazing, right? And so like those deep cut burns that just like, and I know like there's another one, some guy that's coming back now is Nako and Medicine from the People, Nako Bear. So there was a lot of bullshit that happened with him, and I don't want to get in any trouble because I don't know if they're like just allegations, but allegedly there are lots of screen captures of discussions with very underage women, and now it was like allegedly. And what I love is this fucker turns off the comments on his Instagram. Because anytime
that's gonna make the internet forget it.
Oh, dude, and that's exactly it. Because anytime it opens up, people just run to it, and they immediately like rip through it. But then for me, it's like, how the fuck is he able to then still go on nationwide tours and do some of this shit? Right? Like,
I mean, honestly, as a country, we have goldfish memories now.
yeah, and I definitely think like affirmation bias, right? So I guarantee there's going to be some knockout people will be like, bro, that wasn't even true. What?
Yeah.
And it's like, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm not the judge, jury, and executioner, but like,
well, the other side of that is once something like that gets out there into the wild, whether or not it's true,
it's there.
The damage is done.
For
like
sure.
that, it's done. Like, I think it's, there are instances of like actors being fired from shows because of abuse allegations, and then they end up having it dismissed, but it doesn't matter. They never come back from it.
Well, and it's funny because like a past example is people always shed on Michael Kang, the mandolin player from String Cheese Incident. Yes. And he used to say that like, oh, he would turn you in for having drugs or whatever it was. And now recently it's been Pete Ansbach with Goose. So like their drummer got arrested. I think it was an Ohio show for marijuana. And there's this great satire like a year and a half ago or whatever it was. And there's this great satire because in an interview recently, Pete talks about him getting arrested and blah, blah, blah. So there's this satire news, jam band news. I don't know who it is. Somebody can comment on it and figure it out. But they're like, Pete Ansbach wants smaller crowd sizes so that we can find the people who are doing drugs. And so it's like, I love it, but it's also so fucking toxic, and we all just like run with some of this shit. It doesn't make sense. And so it's like, I want to know, like, what are some of these things? Like for me, the poster folding, I talked about it in the chair throwing. The next fucking thing is chompers, right? Bro.
Oh man, there was a guy behind me at Mountain Grass Unit that I got the full rundown of all the reports and Excel spreadsheets he had to do that day at work while I'm trying to listen to these kids play songs. And I was like, oh.
And to me, it like, and it blows my mind. And
I
going
back to you turned to me and be like, shut up.
Yes, you did it at fucking Magoo. At fucking Magoo. I'm seeing them in Boulder. They're shredding, and Shay's over here. And I was like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like, just stop. Now, you're fun. We talk a lot, and I've chomped as well. But so Matt Clay, his fucking wife, Diz, is a major league chomper. And like whenever we go to shows together, I'm like, Diz, you fucking sit over there because I know no matter what.
Explain what that term means.
Dude, if you don't know what a chomper is, you have not been to enough shows.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't know the term, but what it is it's somebody that is chatting it up during a show.
And like there's a difference between like leaning in and saying something and then
no, it's like, hey, have you heard about my sales goals? Like, shut the fuck up.
These funnels, man. It's and they're like, I'm sure the band can hear these people.
Dude.
Like, Anyway.
And so with Diz, like I always give her shit. I told her that I'm gonna big league chew. I was gonna make it a big league chomper shirt and then put her face on it.
That's a merch
that's something that we need to make. But like I give her shit every show that I go at, and she's always like, Kodi, I'm not a fucking chomper. And then 4 songs in, I'll look over and she's talking to anyone that is close to her. And it's like, Diz, you're a fucking chomper. That is who you are. You cannot stop yourself. And what's funny is she's like, but not at a Phish show. I'm like, so there's a respect level here that like you're okay to not do it at a Phish show, but you're gonna do it all these other things. Like, get the fuck out of here, Diz. And I hope that you text me about this so that we can fight. but like chompers are, and they're everywhere, bro. Yeah. They are everywhere.
That's across all. I have been to death metal shows.
1000%.
To talk to your friends at a heavy metal / like death metal, black metal, grindcore, speedcore, whatever genre you're looking at, to manage to talk to your friends who, if you're at like if you're at a venue like the High Dive in Denver, you've probably got earplugs in.
Yeah.
And like you're still going to try to talk to me about your day. Shut the fuck up.
Well, and it's like, why don't you show up fucking 6 hours early in the poster line and talk to them then? like ever since this stupid shit happened.
We do that, and I still manage to talk to you during
the
show.
I know, but that's because we have so much incredible things to say. But that is like 1000%. And now like people have noticed me more and they like see me at shows and they like come up and want to talk to me. I'm like, bro, I am not here for you. I am here for them. Can you just like fuck off? Please fuck off. And what's funny is like, I feel like most of the time, these people who are chompers don't even realize how they are ruining the environment around them. Because like a chomper won't leave, right? So then I have to fucking
they're
move.
Uniquely
entitled,
planted to a spot. Like you can move around the venue and they're still there. And it's fear like the problem, like especially if the venue sound isn't that great. Like at the Bluebird, like I love the Bluebird, but depending on who you're seeing there, where you're staying in the venue, the sound's real hit or miss.
Bro, there is literally only a tight window of good
like right
audio
up front of the bar, like
right there.
If you're like where I was at the stage listening to this guy talking,
it's going over you.
I almost like, dude, if I hear you use the term VLOOKUP at this show one more time, I'm gonna slap the taste out of your mouth. I swear to God, like Jesus.
But that's why it's like, okay, so chompers is one thing. Obviously, I hated empty chairs. What I hate even more is chatting cutters. The people that see people in line who have been waiting in line all day, and then I'll come, oh, hey, man. Yeah, you piece of shit. I'm sure you have. Fuck those people too, right? They don't have a chair for me to throw. So what I want to do is talk about it, right? And like, hey, you want to come and say what up to your homie? Cool. You got 5 minutes before I'm going to be like, I have not seen your face here all day. You don't get to chat and cut in front of me and now get in this line because you saw somebody that knows me. And I've literally had people come and talk to me.
You just happened to be in front of me at Poster Line one year, right?
Yeah.
That's how we met.
Well, oh yeah. So I guess people should know like how this beautiful relationship started was.
I'm still lost in his eyes.
What happened was I wasn't even the dude that threw the chairs at Renewal. And what's great is John actually reached out to me and he's like, fuck yeah, dude. And John had thrown some chairs and I was all about it because actually at Renewal, I stay with other families. I love my kids. And so like the camping scene is just not for them. So we always rent an Airbnb, but then I always have to come in at like 7 or 8 in the morning to then get into Poster Line. And so at Renewal, I did the same thing. And as I got there, this fucking dude was super aggro and pissed and fucking yeeted a bunch of chairs. And I loved it. I fucking loved it. Threw the chairs. And then what happened? Do you remember what happened? That old man from Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, so this fucking old guy comes back because all these chairs are yeeted. We're there, right? So we're plopped back in line. This old man comes.
We all were like, we'll move up.
Yeah, this old man comes. He's looking at his phone, scrolling, looks around, and then he just grabs his chair and puts it right in front of me. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, this is where my son left our chair. And I was like, where the fuck's your son been? He's like, oh, he dropped it off last night. And I was like, sorry, buddy, that's not how this works. He goes, what are you talking about? My chair is there. I was like, an empty chair does not hold your spot in line. And that's how all this bullshit had started. And what happened was I was like, you need to go to the back of the line. And although I'm a giant human being, I wasn't trying to be an asshole or overly aggressive. I was just assertive, right? And I was telling him like, there's a proper etiquette to this. And for him to be so brazen to just like pull it out in front of us, it was fucked. So then he went to the back of the line. And do you remember the next day? He was at the very front and he's like, I sat in my chair all day.
Yes, he did.
And I was like, good for you, bro. Good for you. But yeah, I don't remember who you were with.
It was me and my buddy Ryan. What's up, buddy?
What up, stud?
Yeah.
Fucking whoop. The kid is ripping Deemsters at like 8 o'clock in the morning, just shooting to the moon. I was like, what? Who are these guys? I love you. Like, I love you. And Shay and I were bullshitters. And so we were just bullshitting, talking. And you were the one when we were in Poster Line that we were joking when people were rolling their posters.
So you were doing you like leaned over and were like, what would you rate that? And I was like, like a 5 or a 6, whatever. Because I remember it really was funny because there was somebody who put the art side down on that because the tables they have for rolling are not smooth. They're real shitty. And he clearly fucked it up. And then that was you're just like, man, what if one of these guys I was like, what would you do if someone just folded that shit and put it in their pocket? Yeah. Like it, on a certain level, that person would be mine.
Okay, so there's the guy that put it face down. Do you remember the dude that rolled the foil around his tube and then rubber band it to the outside?
Was it? Yes. What?
Yes, dude.
Like, was it because it was art side in?
Yeah.
Which I understand the logic is okay. It won't get hit with, but then it's going to rub against the.
But no, he didn't even put it in the tube. He rolled it
along the outside.
Along the outside tube,
too full?
And then rubber banded the tube or the poster to the tube, and I was like, 0. That's a fucking zero. And you're like, well, what if somebody was so fucked up? I was like, I'm gonna do that shit one day. And obviously we're bullshitters, so nobody really thought that it would happen. And then of course followed through on it. But yeah, so we met at renewal and we're bullshitting and it just happened. And then we like the same music. So then we started seeing each other. I was like, oh, hey, are you going to this show? Are you doing this?
Each other?
I mean, basically. Yeah, sorry, it's my sister husband or brother, whatever the hell it is. That's what it is. And so it's been awesome because like I actually tell people this all the time. Like as an older head, it's hard to like find people to become friends with, right? And like where do you meet people in your scene? And like, I don't want to just go rage and get super fucked up at the bar, do all these things. Like, yes, I still can do that. But like, when that's the foundation of your friendship, like that's what you're expected to do. Right. And so for me in the poster line, I've met so many, like Jared, one of my best homies right now. I met him in the poster line. I met in the poster line. And I feel like the people that are devoted to the line and actually show up and hang out, we can talk music, we can talk politics, we talk life because we're there for hours. But I feel like you actually build like a relationship with people. And like that's what's been so dope is because now seeing shows all over the country and like having people come and be like, oh, dude, I remember Kodi. I remember this. So then when all this shit went viral, I had people from all over the fucking country being like, what the fuck did you do?
Here's the other one. Do you ever have how often do you have someone come up to you and have a conversation with you? Like you had a whole conversation with them in line or whatever. I don't remember who you are.
Okay, so
that happens to me a lot.
I am big and noticeable, as are you.
Yes.
So many fucking times.
More people notice me than I notice them. And our buddy Danny, great guy.
Yeah.
And he's one of those people. He's always there with us. And he's probably gonna look, maybe not. I don't know. But
he's fucking better. He's got a band. We're supporting you, you son of a bitch.
I was not sure what his name was. Multiple times I met him,
dude,
and I would have to have Ryan be like, I was like, is that guy?
Hey,
like I knew it's like
telltale sign that I don't remember who you are. I'll call you buddy or dude.
Oh, don't wrap me out like that. That's my thing.
Hey, buddy, how's it going, dude? Oh, fuck. Because like people will come up, like, dude. So like back in that 2000 Street cheese show, I remember it was at what was it? It was an amphitheater outside on the west side of Wisconsin. And
I would have loved to see that.
Dude, and so like being the big idiot that I was, I walked around with a beer bong around my neck. And then what I would do is I would walk up to people and I would say, hey, if you can bong faster than me, I'll go grab 2 beers from my site and bring it back and bring you double. Now, I could crush a beer bong. I can also shotgun a beer in like 1.2 seconds. So I
used the stopwatch.
Dude, of course I did. Oh my! Wait, hold on. You're getting me just fine. So like, I would literally go and get drunk at these festivals for free because guess what? I never had beer at my campsite. I was like 16. It was making terrible decisions as a teenager and growing up really quick on doing that, right? And like, I remember one year I beer bonged Bacardi 151.
Oh, you fucking animal.
Dude, I passed out into a fire pit. Somebody had put a burnt hot dog in my mouth. I hope to God somebody posts that picture because it is so epic. The other one that was great was I beer bonged Fruit Loops. So I had put the cereal in the bong and I swirled it around until it got soft enough so that I could bong it. Dude, like savage.
Horrible.
So like I met all these people at all these shows and I did it forever, like going through college because like I went hard and I was irresponsible and an idiot. And so many times I would be at another show down the road and so we'd be like, hey bro, you remember blah blah blah? And I'm going, fuck no, I don't, but you remember me, so that's cool.
Yeah, I'm so glad you got to meet me.
Yeah, I'm so special. Like, but that's where it's fucked because now with the internet, like I do, because like this shit that I was doing, I've done stupid shit for my entire life, and all my homies from high school and college know, and they're like, that's just Kodi being Kodi. Well, now we have the power of the internet and it like gets out and then it like spreads like a wildfire. And so then like people keep coming and seeing you and like noticing you. And like some people I do recognize. There's some people I stay in close relationship with. A lot of people DM me and I'll answer. I talk to people and like have a conversation and meet with. But like it is insane from the scene and like this connection that people feel that they have with you.
Yes.
Right. And then like, because we're fun people, right? And I feel
we're delightful.
I feel all the time people are like, oh, I just love partying with these guys. Like I love hanging out. Like Danny's like, oh, I know this podcast is going to be great because I've hung out with the two of you idiots in a poster line and I've heard you both, right? Like 1,000%.
There's a guy I saw at that Mountain Grass Unit show. I see him at all the shows. I have no idea what his name is, and I've asked multiple times. I can't. He's just Buddy now. Like I don't know. Like,
yeah. Well, that guy needs to make him feel bad, so we'll figure it out. And like you didn't yet. You haven't even tossed a chair, right? So wait until we make you fucking book famous with some internet shit. Oh yeah, I'm sure. Dude, big plans, big plans always for the gram, doing it for the gram, baby. But it's like I do love it because like they have this connection, right? And you're building this environment and you're building this community and camaraderie. And for me, like the podcast and what we're doing now, I told my wife, like, I just love the people that we're getting to talk to us because I just want to talk to those people anyway, right?
Like that, like that's the thing. Like we've talked about this, excuse me, where it's, it's like, well, what I'm doing is I'm getting to bullshit with my buddy. And then for some reason,
somebody else wants to talk to us.
They want to talk to us too. And like, listen, man, that's your problem. So,
like
absolutely.
You're locked in for an hour and a half. Let's go. Let's do this. But it's been fun. And so like, I want to continue the conversations, but I don't just want to do it with the people that we want to talk to, right? Like, I'd love to figure out what are some other topics or some other people that people want us to chase with, or who should we be talking to? I joked with you that we need to do like a Wook of the Week because for me, I feel like there's so many regular people that have stories to tell that aren't given the opportunity to tell them. And so for me, it's like, we can do this from anywhere. I know that you're afraid of this, but we're going to be doing a podcast episode from Renewal.
Just the legit. You know what? I would say doing the logistics of doing a live recording from Renewal are make me anxious. But then I remember I don't really do anything.
We sit in line, bro.
Yeah, and we literally all the I just show up like,
and that's all you're gonna have to do, and we're still gonna lock it in.
You're right. I'm gonna be in line for like 6 hours or whatever.
But that's why, like, I want people to come and I want to chat with you. And if you want to be on camera and we want to do this and get you on the podcast, let's go. Let's tell your story. I've had so many people like the dude that got arrested at Cary at Billy Strings a couple years ago. I'm not going to say his name because we actually are going to have him on as an episode, but it was amazing because he's like, bro, nobody even knows exactly what happened. They just know the virality of the picture of him.
Oh, and anything that spreads like wildfire.
Well, and then that's the other thing is like there is a girl at some festival in the Midwest who they said that she was selling fentanyl laced salve, right?
I saw this, yeah.
And what was crazy was somebody blasted it on the internet. Then it got to the security of the festival and they sent the cops and they arrested her. But what was also crazy was people then came back and said, hey, even the people who have taught you about testing drugs say that if you don't do it the right way, that particular drug is the most common to be a false positive, right? And so like, understanding that, and we've talked about this, we're trying to find people to come and explain some of these things so that we can know in the scene what we need to do better, what we can learn and grow from, and also like the bullshit that surrounds us, right? Because there is so much nonsense, and the internet is a double-edged sword, and some kid who may not have put the right amount of water or the right amount of drugs in his test kit can literally change the trajectory of somebody's life by then just posting a picture of that person on the internet and then watching their lives burn to the fire.
I mean, and that's the thing is like, man, we're not advocating for doing one thing or another in terms
not
of
at all.
Oh, drugs are cool. You should do drugs. We're, the fact that it's just a simple fact of the matter is that this is a thing that's
it's in the scene. It's in the scene. And I want people to be safe. And the fact that we have testing kits is amazing. Yeah. But the fact that people are using them improperly is a bigger issue.
It is, and that could get somebody killed.
1,000%.
It's a super serious thing. Like I've had friends that their come to Jesus awakening moment was getting something laced to the show from some shady dude in the parking lot, And it's like, man, you know, and it's like, well, you had a test kit. Why didn't you test it? It's like, man, like in a lot of ways, I don't go as hard as I did when I was like in college or whatever. Most people,
we're growing up.
Yeah, dude. It's like I gotta go to work. I want to sleep. I don't want to have a headache in the morning. Those kind of things. But it's just like even me, like my friends will laugh at me because I'm always pushing the safety stuff. They're like, you know.
Well, they're like, oh, who the fuck are you? Because I'm like the dude that was beer bonging 151, exactly. Right? And now like, oh, you. My buddy's always like, that doesn't sound like Kodi. And it's like, it's sad though, because if you've been in this scene long enough, it's not if, it is when something happens, right? And so like, I want to protect our friends, our homies, and better understand. And like you said, I'm not advocating for the use of anything. What I say is you can only control yourself and what you do. But if we're given a platform to have discussions and talk about this, if somehow we can have a discussion about something like that, that even changes one person's life, right? Like, I think that is so powerful and so important that that's what we need to focus on. But there's also shit that we need to focus on, like fucking Diz and the Chompers. Like, shut these fucking people up. Right?
I was like, bro, you get too real right now.
Yeah, no, be like, back this thing. Don't you worry. I know. Yeah. You're like, beep, beep, we got this. But that's also where it's beautiful, because like this scene and transcending music, whether it's heavy metal to fucking country or bluegrass, right? And everything in between, we all have a scene, we have a vibe, we have a community. And what I want to do is connect more of us together, right? And I want to be able to know people's names when they come up and tell me or say, oh, because I was at the Sphere and I was walking around Shakedown and I literally had half a dozen vendors just giving me shit. They're like,
they recognize the hat,
dude.
Yeah,
fucking hat. Yeah. Fucking. And for all these people, like, they're like, why don't you just not wear the hat? Like, my daughter turns 8 in December. The picture of me holding my daughter, I'm in this fucking hat.
No, I actually have never asked you this. Is that the only hat? Because in my head, you've got a whole rack of this exact same hat.
No, so this is the one. This is the one. And what's funny was,
I have lots of hats, but I get real sweaty.
Well, dude, and so do I. And so that's why my wife is like, Kodi, that fucking hat is disgusting. And she was trying to buy me a new one. And I was like, I don't want a new one. She's like, do you see like the stains and the sweat rings?
You mean the badges of honor?
Yeah. Well, so then I soaked it and cleaned it up to brighten it up.
Wash your hats, guys. Don't put them in the machine.
No.
That's not how you
clean it.
hat.
But like I did. I used to have all sorts of hats, but for me, it's like this is just the one now. I love it. And everyone's like, because like I threw up the West Side at the end of the chair video, and they're like, how come a Packers fan is throwing up West Side? Well, motherfucker, I'm from as far west as it gets. I'm from the big island of Hawaii, right? And so like I grew up in Hawaii. I moved to Minnesota as a teenager, and that's when I truly became a Packers fan, because all those purple fucks. And I literally have rocked this forever. There are Packers fans all over the world. I was in Costa Rica, Panama. I rock this hat. I get a Go Pack. I fucking love it. I love, just like the community within music, that we're called fans because we're fanatics, right? There's people everywhere that love it. And for me to be able, and my wife is always like, you wear that just so people notice it. And I'm like, well, what if I fucking do?
Yep. My one of the greatest achievements that my brother ever managed, at least in my eyes, and listen to him talk about it after six or seven beers, is he's an owner.
I got 2 pieces of paper, baby.
He got one.
Yeah, because I got one in the 90s. My parents bought it for me, and then they recently did it again, and I was like, well, why the fuck wouldn't? And then everyone's like, it's just a piece of paper. I'm like, yeah, bitch, I'm an owner.
Is that on your resume on the professional football team?
As it should be.
Don't ask.
And on the paper, it's like, this has no monetary value. And I'm like, you don't even fucking know. I don't care about the monetary value. It's a community, right? And so like that fandom, and I think that's what we want to build here. We would love, on What's the Reason for This, to build that kind of following so that we are sharing stories, talking with people, bringing things to this community that people want to fucking hear about. They don't just want to have the two of us fucking chomp away at whatever we think is important. And I drew, like, although I call it a Wook of the Week, I think it's important to tell other people's stories or give them a platform, because for me, before like the viral videos, I was just a fucking idiot. And then Andy Frasco reached out to me and was like, hey, I want you to tell your story. And then at that point, I was able to talk about why I did some of this shit. So for other people, like the dude that got arrested in Cary, or some of these other people, like Smiley is going to be one of our guests, right?
Smiley.
And yeah, buddy, smile for miles. But
Yes.
like, I want people to know their stories and give them a chance to share some of that with people. So instead of the bullshit, like just with Cash or Trade, there are so many people that shit on Cash or Trade that didn't know how it worked or what the process was or how it went. They just knew that whenever they tried, it didn't work how they wanted, but that was because they were misinformed.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, you know, a lot of people, I've sent people to Cash or Trade, and they expect it to just work like XX or eTix or one of the where you just go click buy. It is. It's more labor intensive. You have to.
And the offer thing is confusing. And honestly, it pissed me off too. But when he explained that he makes it an offer so that then the person selling the ticket has the choice of who they're selling to, it made so much more sense. Because yeah, you're right. If you're trying to sell face value tickets, then somebody's going to want to fucking just buy those up and then resell them for more money.
I've had better results on Cash or Trade by sending a haiku as my message request about why I want their tickets.
Fucking hipster.
Listen, it's great. 575, baby.
575.
You know, it's one of those things, you know, and then it's just kind of in that same vein. Like,
I'm going to make you write a haiku for the description of this fucking episode.
Oh, let's do it. I can think about it. Honestly,
I won't put you on the spot now. Yeah, but no. Get the fuck out of here, ChatGPT. Listen, the one thing that I do want people to understand is we are both genuine to a fault, right? Like,
we're not only going to talk about stuff we don't like. That's fun to fish for sure.
Yeah, fuck fish.
Yeah, but but you know, that's like that's the thing too. Is like we'll have some more positive. Like we'll have to get some good stories from the scene, things like that. The magic happens, you know.
And that's where it's like, I mean, I would love. So like I talked about the big woo earlier. I literally asked my wife to marry me at Woo Year's Eve. Like, so hearing some of these stories and these connections, dude,
that's so good.
Dude, and those boys fucking, they're still making music. Actually, Chris Castino came out and he did all the big woo songs in bluegrass. Yes, I got the signed vinyl up in my office. So yeah, I'm fucking love you, Castino.
Well, and you know what? In that same name or same vein, if anybody finds a Mountain Grass unit set list along 36 between Denver and Boulder, you let me know because it's fun.
Yeah, you want to know why? Because this big dumb idiot. First off, let's talk about the more important part. He got the set list. Yeah. Then he was sitting at the Bluebird waiting for these teenage boys to sign his set list. And what did they do?
They told me.
Yeah, they kicked him out.
These kids are like 20. They're gone. Get out of here.
They kicked him out. So then this fucking Wook brings it in his truck, starts driving back home to Boulder. Yeah, he's got his windows down. What happens?
Right out the window.
He's gone.
I'm pretty upset about that.
So we need to find Shay a replacement set list. MGU, if you end up playing Renewal, who knows? We need to get him. Dude, it would be so nasty. But they haven't made any announcement yet. And we'll see what happens. But
I'm so curious who it's going to be because they usually do it months before now. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, all I care about is Billy. So and they're releasing, dude. They're releasing the album the day before. Yes.
Do you like that song that they put out?
Yes. Leadfoot. Yeah, it's gonna get me a fucking speeding ticket, bro. It is gonna get me a
I'm hoping the whole album is like highway or car themed.
Well, it is, and that's what he had said. And what's funny is we're all like, oh, we want a Billy Train song, and then Billy's like, here's a whole fucking album of car songs. And we're like, yes. But it's dope, and so there's a lot of fun coming. And for us, we just want to continue to evolve and grow. What this will become, like, this is our 4th episode, right? And if you notice, episode 1 has been removed for a slight time being. We were asked to take that down. There will be an episode 1.1 where we get some things changed and edited and updated. So when you're going and you're seeing us on all these platforms and you're going, where's episode 1? What happened to episode 1? Just know that there was a discussion that happened. We were asked. I didn't even fucking ask any questions. I just pulled everything, move on. We're going to get it or some variation of it back up at some point. So when people ask, the people that did listen to it, you Got lucky.
Special.
You got
You're
lucky.
special.
That's a 101, baby. Because
one of one.
because now it's going to be episode 1.1 with some heavy editing, and we just want to make sure that we're protecting everybody in the scene and not pissing anybody off. Because, like we both said, Billy's in our top. Like that's going to be something, and we are going to continue to follow that scene, get people in from that scene. We didn't want to piss anybody off, so I know a lot of people have messaged me and asked why. We're not going to go through it, but the fact is yes, episode 1 has been pulled. In the interim, we have been told that there will be another iteration that we're able to get back up down the road.
Yes.
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I assume we did something, but that's fine.
Of course we did. Well, first off, we definitely asked things that we shouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was cool because we got fucking answers, but then like we don't want to piss anyone off.
No,
we don't want to
get anybody in trouble.
Well, and that's the last thing. And like for me, I was so afraid that someone would like lose their job or get fucking reprimanded for some stupid shit that we did. Like
bullshitting with these idiots.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that was.
So it's a balance, but so we love you guys. I've absolutely loved doing this, and I'm so excited to see how we continue to evolve and grow. But we also wanted to reach out and let people know when you're listening to this that we want you to be part of this, right? We want your influence. We want to know what you guys think we should cover, who we should talk to, what we should do. Now, I can't promise you that we get everybody on. Realistically, I have a lot of people come and ask me, they're like, bro, you need to do longer than 1 hour episodes. And it's like, well, fuck, man, I having a hard enough time figuring out, like, is this going to be entertaining enough for an hour? And then
I'm entertained.
Yes. And to be perfectly honest, this is where I'm a dick. I don't give a shit if they like it or not. I have been loving it. Like,
so fun.
I like even chasing guests, right? And like getting people to sign up and like, they're like, well, what is it? What's the premise? And I'm like, oh, well, here's what we're doing. And this is what we're doing. And then when they're like, oh, it sounds great. I'm like, wait, what? Really? Like,
oh, you want to talk to me?
Like, what the fuck? Like Brando, I reached out to that dude on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
like literally like, hey, and he's like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Fucking David Gons. I went into one of the Grateful Dead groups and I asked people, I was like, hey, if you could interview anyone other than the band, because obviously I'm not getting the fucking band to talk to us yet. Who would you guys talk to? They're like, oh, this dude, this dude, this dude, this dude. And I've been reaching out to all of them, even Chloe Weir. You better answer my IG messages. But it was cool because David Gons then like reached back out to me and he's like, what's your story? Why should I do this? And then I got like my
interesting. I didn't know that was his response.
Yes. So then I got my elevator pitch.
Worth my time?
Yes, and I got my elevator pitch and I told him the angle that we were hitting it on. And he goes, that sounds great. Let's do it.
That's awesome.
And I was like, what the fuck? Oh my God. Like I'm gonna have you better fucking learn about the Grateful Dead before we have David on.
Hey, okay. Fun fact. I know. Pretty sure that Magoo is called Magoo because when the Grateful Dead were called the Warlocks, they played at a place called Magoo's Pizza Palace before they were called the Grateful Dead.
Ooh, so we need to get Magoo on to talk about that.
I know the Magoo thing with the pizza place is accurate. That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's where all the guys in Magoo picked the name from because they all love Grateful Dead. So,
but not you. So fuck this guy. I wanted to thank you guys for listening. Please reach out to us. Let us know how you feel. You have anything else you want to say?
Just be good people.
Yeah,
I'm not, but you should.
Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to hold you to higher standards than I hold myself. It's kind of like my wife. I'm going to tell you how you should live your life and then figure out how that works. I'm definitely going to edit that out because I still want to stay married.
Yes.
All right, guys, take it easy. We love you. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
I feel like that's good.
That's good. I hope my feed's not too loud because I'm so used to yelling into a